by His Holiness Shivaram Swami, Krishna in Vrindavan. And we're on part 3, chapter 2. This part is called Prema Samputa, the love box. And yesterday we heard Krishna's questions. Krishna dressed as a gopi, basically, wandering into Srimati Radharani's courtyard and asking questions like, why do you tolerate this Krishna who just leaves you and doesn't reciprocate your love? Why do you go on loving him? Why don't you just ditch him? And so now Srimati Radharani is going to answer the questions. So this is based on, I'm going to start by reading 3 verses, Sanskrit verses from the book Prema Samputa by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, verses 51 to 53. Vaktum tada pravavrite rishabhanu nandini akarnyatam vividisham ihached dadhasi preme yad evam idam eva nachedam etat yo veda veda vid asav apinaiva veda yo veda yad vividisham saki vedanam yat ya vedana tad akilam kalu vedanaiva prema hikopi para eva vivekchane sa dhyana yantar dadatyalam asav avivekchanepi dvabhyam yadara hitam eva manasvabhava singhasano parivirajati ragi shudham tachchestitai priya sukhe satiyat sukham syat tachcha swabhavam adirudham avekshayatam. Translation: Saki, if you want to hear about prema, then listen. Prema is so great that learned Vedic scholars cannot understand it. What to speak of others who claim to know it? One who attempts to instruct an inquisitive person by measuring prema or comparing it to anything else has failed to comprehend prema. One who hears such a teacher is misled. Such exchange is but cheating, for prema disappears before both the discriminate and indiscriminate. But that pure-hearted soul, whose mind is imbued with affectionate attachment, free from all speculation, alone sits upon the throne of natural love. So now we will start chapter 2, Radhika's answers. And we begin as usual with Shamalata speaking to Navasaki. Navasaki, is our dear reader not a wonderful listener? I feel so fortunate to have 2 such qualified students. Your attentive hearing and deep feeling for the subject are inspiring me to speak more and more. What did you say? Oh, this katha has stirred your heart? Dearest, it must be so. Those learned in rasa say, of what use is a bowman's arrow or a bard's poem if it penetrates the heart but does not cause the head to spin? The heart that does not stir by contact with the prema katha of Radhe Shyam, that does not melt upon hearing their ever-fresh pastimes, and that does not bring tears to the eyes, must be understood to have been forged of steel. Here is but one example of the wonder aroused by prema. One full moon night, in a forest garden by Yamuna's shore, Radha and Krishna were picking flowers. Each was inspired to excel the other in decorating with flower ornaments. Who would collect the most flowers, and who would make the most beautiful ornaments? Radhika was assisted by her confidential friends, and Sri Krishna was driven by the zeal not to be outdone. Bedecked in a white sari, Sri Radha was collecting kunda flowers as white as moonlight. Moving from tree to tree, she would stand on her tiptoes, smile charmingly, and cast naughty glances at her beloved. Her lovely face, decorated with diamond earrings and whitish lipstick, appeared to be the full moon come to Vrindavan. Radha's spirited beauty so bewildered Sri Krishna that he was distracted in the work of picking flowers. Confused, he mistook moonlight for kunda flowers, placing the shimmering moonbeams in his basket. Seeing his predicament, the gopis laughed in one another's arms, their voices echoing throughout Vrindavan forest. Flushed with embarrassment, Sri Krishna smiled shyly at bemused Radha. Is that not wonderful? Hari, let me return to narrating the events of that autumn evening. When through the mouth of Radhika's messenger I heard Sri Krishna's enchanting words, I eagerly anticipated Radha's response. Nectarian teachings passing through Sri Radha's saffron lips would be relevant to everyone. Who would not be benefited in their quest for Krishna Prema by the words of the Raja Guru of that Prema? Recognizing my heartfelt desire, Tulsi's maidservant smiled shyly and continued. So here we go. On the condition that Devi Rupa Krishna remain in Vraj, Sri Radhika had volunteered to reveal the jewels within her love box. The complex nuances of loving exchanges are impossible to understand by words alone. One needs heart-to-heart contact with one who has felt prema to know the glories of Sri Radha's love, a love that remains ever radiant despite so much heartache. Sri Krishna replied, Alas, Radhe, after all this time, do you not trust me? You said that if I become your dearmost friend, you will reveal your love box. But I am your eternal maidservant. Please bestow your favor upon me and kindly relieve the pain in my heart. I vow upon the name of Lord Vishnu, I have no shelter other than you. Sri Krishna's heart was speaking. How could he be unhappy? How could he be happy? How could he feel complete? How could he continue to live without the mercy of Sri Radha? Could he have any shelter other than her who is love personified? Feeling the weight of his words, Rishabhanunandini decided to reveal her heart. Offering respect to the love that forever binds her soul to Krishna, Radhika said, Saki, if you want to hear about prema, then listen. Prema is so great that learned Vedic scholars cannot understand it, but to speak of others who claim to know it. One who attempts to instruct an inquisitive person by measuring prema or comparing it to anything else has failed to comprehend prema. One who hears such a teacher is misled. Such exchange is but cheating, for prema disappears before both the discriminate and indiscriminate. That's from the book. Hearing these words of ultimate wisdom, Lalita and Vishaka smiled at each other. They were thrilled that Sri Radha's innermost secrets were being disclosed through her own lips. But that pure-hearted soul, whose mind is imbued with affectionate attachment, free from all speculation, alone sits upon the throne of natural love. If you ask what is the symptom of such love, Saki, I shall answer. Love is that attachment in which the lover's every act is solely dedicated to the happiness of the beloved. Srihari drank the nectar of Radhika's words through his ears. Who but her was qualified to describe the constitution of love? Prema is supremely self-sufficient and independent. It knows itself, by itself, and so requires no second agent for its sustenance or nourishment. The very effort to understand it augurs its absence from the heart. Such futile labor can never force prema to appear. The tender maiden of prema flees at any attempt, be it linguistic, rational, philosophical, or otherwise, to define her. Unless prema is in the heart, empowering the mind and senses by its influence, any effort to understand it is futile. The only considerations that nurture prema are, what will please my lover, and what will displease my lover. To the question, if prema is beyond comprehension, then how can Radha properly describe it? Sri Krishna answered within his mind, She is prema personified, and her dissertation on prema is but the revelation of her own self. Thus, who else but prema can adequately speak about prema? Sri Radha continued, The miseries of this world resulting from present and future happiness, family affairs, political intrigues, bodily pains, and unrequited love appear as insurmountable as Mount Sumeru. They are, however, conquered effortlessly by supremely powerful prema. As a lion feeds on elephants, prema removes all obstacles in its path, only to be nourished by those very obstacles. Proud of its bodily luster and immeasurable strength, a lion sleeps peacefully, unmindful of nearby dogs. Likewise, prema, radiating imperishable affection, and decorated with wounded pride, thrives without being disturbed by material distress. Saki, know for sure that the miseries of this world cannot influence prema. To the contrary, as a lamp shines brighter in the darkness, so the glory of prema shines brighter in material affliction. So it seems that Radharani is explaining here that when things apparently don't go her way, when perhaps Krishna leaves her presence or there's some argument or something, then that doesn't diminish her love for him. In fact, it makes it shine brighter, right? Saying that the lamp shines brighter in the darkness. So the glory of prema shines brighter in material affliction. Radhika smiled, inquisitive to know if her goddess student understood the absolute autonomy of prema. Because the very substance of prema is transcendental. Once it appears, millions of obstacles fail to arrest its progress. To confirm his comprehension, Sri Krishna smiled and submissively lowered his long eyelashes. Next, Radhika explained the deceptive behavior of prema as distinct from its material counterpart, kama, lust. Raising her hand in the Jnana Mudra to draw Sri Krishna's attention, she said, "On account of the deceitful behavior of the beloved, prema causes the lover to savor an ever-fresh array of intoxicating emotions. Thus prema shines with both the soothing rays of the moon that delight the three worlds and the scorching rays of the sun that annihilate the universe." By her statement, Sri Radha admitted that the Krishna bee has a proclivity for tasting a variety of flower-like gopis. When by his duplicity he tastes the nectar of another gopi's love, Radhika is plunged into an ocean of separation, bearing unceasing ecstatic emotions, such as the happiness of her past meetings or the sorrow of her present rejection. These emotions in turn awaken other ecstasies, such as feigned anger, mana, which produce another range of concomitant feelings within Sri Krishna. Thus, by constantly alternating between union and separation, both Vishaya and Ashraya continually taste an endless variety of loving sentiments and their related emotions. My dear Saki, consider this. Within these three worlds or beyond, who but the son of Maharaj Nanda can evoke the treasure of such loving sentiments? Sri Krishna covered his smiling face with his veil. By this, Radha meant to say, unless one is completely independent, self-satisfied, and free from false ego, there is no question of being imbued with prema. But where is such a person to be found? Sri Krishna's expansions, like Narayan and the Lord of Dwarka, are always aware of their godhood and fully engaged in the protection of religious principles. The Purusha avatars and demigods like Lord Brahma are busily engaged in the affairs of the universe, and human beings are all under the control of karma, maya, time, and their senses. Within the mundane and transcendental world, who else but the carefree Prince of Raj is autonomous, nonchalant, and completely unencumbered? Who else but the love-engrossed guardian of Nanda's cows has completely abandoned his identity as the Godhead? While Nanda Maharaj attends to the duties of his kingdom, who else but Govinda is free to roam here and there, absorbed in his self-invented games of love? Considering all this, Sri Krishna is no doubt that preeminent lover and perfect object of love. Radhika continued, and who other than the doe-eyed gopis of Raj can perfectly reciprocate the love of Sri Krishna, relishing and understanding it according to their qualifications? As Hari is the perfect object of prema, the gopis are its fully qualified receptacles. For the pleasure of Sri Hari, the Vrajadevis abandon everything, including the happiness of enjoying his love. In this way, their prema is unique. Therefore, Sri Radha mentioned them as Krishna's only counterparts in his loving affairs. Radha continued, sometimes prema appears in the guise of lust, and in that form gives Govinda unlimited bliss. Conversely, lust sometimes resembles prema, but such pretense never makes my beloved happy. The uninformed mistake prema for kama, or kama for prema, but Sri Krishna, the crown jewel of clever artists, is never deceived by such pretense. Disguised as a goddess, Sri Krishna nodded in agreement. He is controlled only by affection, free from the slightest tinge of personal desire. Prema is easily mistaken for lust. For instance, when a winsome gopi pines, "I am being consumed by the fire of separation. Quickly bring me to my beloved." You should know she is free of lust, for she only desires the happiness of Sri Krishna. Although appearing to be lusty, that girl is decorated by the ornaments of prema. A soft breeze carried the scent of blossoming ketaki flowers into the courtyard. The sound of lowing cows was heard in the distance. Reassured that no one was in earshot, Radhika dove even deeper into her teachings on love. Having introduced the topic of prema, I will now tell you about Krishna's love. At this, Sri Hari moved closer, keen to hear what she was about to say. Krishna is an ocean of love, a mine of jewel-like qualities. He is most attractive to the cowherd damsels of Vraj. In exchanges of love, he too showed symptoms of lust, like deceitfulness, naughtiness, and crookedness. But you should know these traits to be inspired by prema. Devoid of prema, the resolute efforts of hundreds of thousands of the most beautiful girls fail to fulfill Sri Krishna's desires. This is so because only pure, unalloyed love is capable of satisfying him. It was time for Sri Radha to reveal her own love. Pausing for a moment, hesitant and shy, she looked to her friends for support. Seeing Sri Krishna's promising smile and loving features, she sighed and said, "The Vrajagopis are imbued with pure prema and attract Sri Krishna like magnets. Among the fair-faced damsels of this land, it is well known that Sri Krishna is most attracted to me. This is surely true, for Govinda considers my love to be as great as Mount Sumeru. Of course, that does not mean the gopis' love is only 3 or 4 mustard seeds high. Rather, he sees my love as the greatest among great things." Sri Krishna heard Radha's personal testimony and considered, "How true! Outside of Vraj, there is no love to be found like that of the Vrajabasis. Even the queens of Dwarka have some self-interest. Among the Vrajabasis, the love of the gopis is supreme, and among many groups of gopis, only the followers of Sri Radha approach the pinnacle of Mahabhav. But it is Sri Radha alone, the fountainhead of prema, in whom Mahabhav ascends to its topmost limit. Who can compare to her? No one. If a gopi tries to imitate Sri Radha's behavior, thinking that being like her will please Hari, she is mistaken." Radha continued, "Sri Krishna reciprocates according to the level of attachment attained by the gopis, and engages in many pleasant pastimes with them. That is not wrong of him. But if by chance a gopi transgresses the limits of her qualification, assuming my service by pretense, Sri Krishna is not at all happy. I also suffer seeing my Priyatama in such a condition." Despite how it may seem, Shyamasundar love for Radha is as unique as her love for him. To the untrained eye, he may appear to love another gopi equally, or even favor her, but Radhika knows the undisclosed secrets of Hari's heart, the true motives underlying his every move. Sri Krishna's love for me is without equal. Even if he fails to appear at the agreed meeting place, I know he is not at fault. Some unforeseen obstacle must have stood in his way. Although his mind is always fixed on me, if a beautiful gopi blocks his path, he feels obliged to reciprocate her love. That is his magnanimity. While enjoying the romantic atmosphere of Vraj's Kunj with her, Govinda does not feel happy. Rather, he burns in the forest fire of misery, caused by the anticipation of my imminent sorrow. And I, waiting in a decorated kunja, lament pitifully for the distress of my lover. My sorrow further heightened by thinking that my dress, ornaments, form, and the time spent arranging them were all for naught. I desired his pleasure and managed only sorrow. For these reasons I cry a river of tears that paint the ground with kajal and kumkum. O Saki, you have seen me weep. What more need I say? So Radharani is saying that when she finds out that Krishna got waylaid by another gopi, she feels distress, but it's not because of her for any selfish reason, but she's feeling sad because she knows that Krishna's with that gopi and he's not happy. He's not as happy as he could be. And she also feels sad that Krishna's not with her, because she knows Krishna would be much more happy with her, and that he's not able to enjoy all the arrangements that she and her Sakis and Manjaris made for him, because he got stuck with that other girl. So she's not feeling sad that she was cheated or that she didn't get the enjoyment that she was expecting that night or whatever, but she's feeling sad that Krishna didn't get the enjoyment that he was expecting. He didn't get all the pleasure that was planned for him, and that he couldn't be with the girl that he loves and enjoys with the most, who happens to be her. Krishna recalled incidents in which he had to face Radhika's wrath without attaining his nocturnal goal. She continued, "Then at daybreak, Sri Krishna humbly appears, garlanding me with sweet words and worshipping me with bashful smiles. At that time I angrily tell him, 'Go to that other girl and enjoy with her. That is also for his pleasure.' My anger is but a display of love. I wanted to give him an ocean of happiness, and he whiled away the night in a tiny pond. Whatever I say or do, I only want his satisfaction." Looking at Devi Krishna, Radhika emphatically said, "Sakhi, this is the way of the gopis' love in Vraj. While residing here, try to understand the unprecedented and transcendental nature of our passionate love, Anurag." Speaking thus, Radhika described her anger at Sri Krishna's disloyalty. Whatever dissatisfaction she showed, in whatever form that displeasure took, she was only displaying her prema. Like Hari, I also disguise my prema and show my lust by saying, "O cheater, how could you leave me for another girl?" as if distressed by my ungratified senses. In turn, Sham displays his lust by standing before me, marked with signs from another gopi, and admits his offense. So, Srimati Radharani, she displays this, she acts as if she's disappointed because she didn't get her senses gratified, but that's not the actual case. She does that also for Krishna's pleasure, so that Krishna feels like she also desires him. She doesn't just desire him to be happy, but she also desires him. And then that makes him happy also. Although lust can never attract him, by pretending to be lusty, Sri Krishna and the gopis cover their prema, seasoning it with deception, crookedness, and mischief. Why? Because those who possess prema do not make a display of their opulence. They taste the mellows of love to their satisfaction, and despite external appearances, easily discern its presence in others. As a valuable treasure is buried underneath worthless soil, so prema is often hidden beneath commonplace behavior. After all, there are risks in freely exposing the jewels of love. To emphasize that real prema always remains hidden, Gauri said, "O goddess, you said that Krishna's prema is not visible in his speech or actions. I say that unless you learn to recognize the symptoms of love, you will always think that way. For like the flame of a lamp, prema shines steadily in the abode of both lovers' hearts, as long as the door of the mouth remains closed. If prema is brought outside by speaking, love surely dims or vanishes." A realized soul can recognize the abundant luster of prema as it appears through the windows of the eyes, or illuminates the lips, cheeks, forehead, and chest. This indescribable condition of the heart requires its own language, and is made known to the beloved by such signs. So she's saying that prema is not something that is spoken about. They don't talk about their love for each other, but instead they'll yell at each other and things like that. But they'll know that they love each other because they can see it in the eyes. They can see it in the way their lips shine, cheeks, forehead, and chest. Different body languages. Vishaka returned with golden goblets of scented water for Radha and her guest. Absorbed in the ecstasy of Prema Lila, Sri Radhika was unmindful of her Sakhi's movements, or the newly brought refreshments. When Lalita Devi indicated she should moisten her throat, Gauri stopped speaking, and as Krishna watched, drank like the queen of swans tasting lotus sprouts. Seeing Radha's reflection in his cup, Hari raised it to his lips and drank the nectar of her face. Speaking of that, when I drink. Now, as for Krishna, Gaurangi giggled, although his prema shines abundantly from his lotus face, he speaks of his love again and again, and it never diminishes. How is that, you ask? Radhika laughed and imitated Krishna's movements. He disguises his prema as unbridled lust by cleverly covering it with a curtain of habitual lies. For the pleasure of her audience, Radha exaggerated Govinda's clever speech and teased. When a gopi is angry with him, he will woo her, saying, "O dearest, I love you the most. No other girl can enter my heart, even in a dream." But if she remains angry, seeing the signs of another tryst on him, he reluctantly leaves her and comes to me. Clapping her hands in loving merriment, Radha said, "Then, just to enjoy with me, he will describe the beauty of my face, promising his undying love, and speak words like, 'Radhe, you are my life and soul.' In this way he does not display his prema, only lust." Sri Krishna was astounded. Wonder, admiration, and incredulity adorned his goddess-like face. How could Sri Radha understand every purpose behind his pastimes? How could she know the deception masking his true prema? It was simply amazing. Gauri had answered the Devi's first accusations, that her beloved Krishna was callous to love, and only interested in gratifying his senses. Before describing the inner meaning of the Sharadiya rasa, she hinted at how the gopis revealed their prema. In contrast to Hari, the gopis reveal their prema only when the burning fire of separation has reduced the ocean of their gravity to a spoonful. At that time they disclose their love by singing songs like Yate sujata charanam buruham staneshu Bita shanai priyadadhimahi karkasheshu Tenatavim atasitad vyatatena kim swit Kurpadibhir brahmati dhir bhavad ayushamna. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds therefore are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. The feeling of separation is like death, for it restricts the movements of the life airs. However, separation cannot diminish the power of love, for the lamp of prema continues to shine, brightly nourished by the oil of deep affection. Seeing the Devi's lower lip open in wonder, Radhika meticulously responded to the allegations of the goddess had levied against her lover by unfolding the mystery of Krishna's leaving her during the rasa dance. Forsaking the gopis, Madan Mohan took me through the forest gardens, and then, for no apparent reason, suddenly left me as well. Saki, I can never take offense at his behavior, outlandish as it may be, for the Prince of Raj is an ocean of prema, and regards me in the highest esteem. Listen as I disclose the secret of this Leela. That night, Sri Krishna seated me upon the jeweled throne of matchless good fortune, and decorated me with many jewel-like pastimes. We wandered from forest to forest, absorbed in each other, his mind far distant from other beautiful girls. Then I thought to myself, how unfortunate that my Sakis cannot be here to partake of this great festival of bliss. Instead of relishing Hari's association, they must be burning in the dreadful fire of separation. I wonder what they are doing now. What shall I do? If we were to sit down for a moment, my dear friends, who must be madly searching for us in every nook and cranny of this forest, would inevitably find us. Thinking in this way, I told Sri Krishna, "O dearest one, I cannot walk any further. Please let us sit down and rest for a while." Oh, that's so sweet. Radharani was just thinking about her friends, and she wanted them to find them so that they could all be together with Krishna, and all the gopis could enjoy the same happiness that she was feeling there in the forest with Krishna. My Sri Krishna is the crown jewel of clever artists and an incomparable connoisseur of rasa. He could immediately understand my mind. Taking counsel from his heart, he quickly found expedient means by which to fulfill his desires. Vanamali thought, if Radha and I continue to roam through the groves of Raj, her heart will be restless at her Sakhi's distress, and we will fail to taste the happiness of love. On the other hand, if we wait for them to arrive, I will be attacked by their jealous glances, and Radha will be harassed by their spiteful ridicule. Such quarreling will bring our transcendental pastimes to an end. The gopis will return home in a sullen mood, my anticipated pleasure in the rasa dance being scattered to the wind. Under the circumstances, how will I fulfill the request Sri Radha made from me earlier? By raising her exquisite eyebrows, Vishaka inquired, Radhe, what request did you make of Hari in the past? Radha replied, some time ago I challenged Govinda. O my beloved, a remarkable desire has appeared in my heart. Please fulfill my request and make me happy. I desire to see you simultaneously embrace billions of chaste and virtuous gopis at the same time, while moving through the colorful arena of the rasa dance. That is my unusual but humble request. Remembering my appeal, Krishna thought, if the gopis find us together, Radha's request will remain unfulfilled. If I abandon her for a few moments, the gopis will find Radha alone and helpless. They will then know her to be innocent of any wrongdoing, and lay the blame for their suffering at my doorstep. To pacify the gopis, I will admit my inadequacy in reciprocating their love, and by that admission accept my role as their debtor. By such a strategy, the bonds of affection between Radha and the gopis will be strengthened, and the obstacles to our pleasure will be removed. Radhika continued to reveal Shamasundar's thoughts. When the gopis discover Radha submerged in an intense fever of separation, they will plunge into the ocean of astonishment. Seeing her incomparable pain, the pride of their love will wither. They will know her to be 1,000,000,000 times superior, both in union and separation. As they follow our footprints on the forest path, some of the gopis will condemn Radhika, saying, because Krishna is very lusty, just to be with that lusty girl Radha, he has left us, who love him more than anyone. These gopis, seeing us as the source of their unhappiness, will embrace unbecoming feelings towards my beloved. But when they approach Sri Radha, fallen to the ground in agony, the gopis will be scorched by the intense flames of her separation from me. They will instantly realize their love to be like the flame of an insignificant wick in the presence of the forest fire of her prema. In this way, the false pride of the gopis will be purified, and in love for me they will unite. Casting aside all jealousy, they will rejoice when Sri Radhika takes the role of my primary consort as the central gopi in the middle of the rasa dance. Radha winked at Lalita. Sri Krishna rationalized my suffering at being abandoned by the promise of our future meeting and the vision of a rasa dance I so much desired. He thought, just as eye ointment burns when first applied, but later enhances one's vision, a well-meaning friend sometimes gives pain so that his beloved may achieve future happiness. O goddess, in this way, Hari chalked out his course of action. After carrying me a few paces, he sat me down in a pleasant place, saying, just wait here a moment, and immediately disappeared. So Krishna is very smart. The only reason he left Srimati Radharani alone there in the forest was to fulfill her own desire that he dances with all the gopis simultaneously. And because if they had found the two of them alone, then they would have been jealous. But when they found Radharani all alone, then it evoked their compassion, and then they could see also that she was suffering more than them, so they wanted her to be with Krishna more than them, which is what happened. Sri Radhika momentarily closed her eyes and remembered Krishna's departure. As tears welled in her eyes and her bodily temperature rose dramatically, within her heart she saw the fascinating Devi who had come to visit her. Upon opening her eyes, she saw the same person before her. That Devi, her ruby-colored lips decorated with a compassionate smile, had the same effect on Radha as seeing Hari. Thus the pain of her separation subsided, and she was able to continue her narration. What can I say about my condition at that time? Seeing me unbalanced and distressed, soft-hearted Govinda was just about to reappear when my distraught girlfriends entered the kunja to find me alone. They were all the more aggrieved at my pitiful plight, and gave their full attention to consoling me. Radhika cast a smile of appreciation at Lalita and then at Vishaka. Having concluded the explanation of Sri Krishna's disappearance and her resultant suffering, Sri Radhika Sri Radha addressed the last concern of the Devi, namely his irreligious killing of women and cows. Regarding the killing of demons in the guise of Arishtasura, Bakasura, Agasura, Vatsasura, and the deceitful Putana, no blame can be consigned to my lover. I understand that Lord Vishnu appeared in the body of Hari for the protection of his devotees. Our Krishna was inactive during such deeds. Devi, Sri Krishna's transcendental feats, such as killing demons and lifting Govardhan Hill, proved true the prediction of Garga Muni, that in quality our Krishna would be equal to Lord Narayan. Lowering her voice, Radhika leaned forward and concluded, "But the Lord of Vaikuntha cannot equal Sri Krishna in form, qualities, and sweetness. That is what I understood from the words of Sri Garga, the best of Munis." Sri Radhika completed the display of her love jewels before her unprecedented guest. Having laid them upon the velvet-covered tray of the goddess's ears, Radha sat back, inquisitive as to which jewel her new friend would select. Eager to hear Radhika's delectable words, Hari prompted her further. "Radhike, I understand that prema and its crooked ways find their ultimate resort in you alone. From your ambrosial talk, this is crystal clear. Priye, in essence, you accept that prema makes the lover's faults look like virtues. The misery he gives tastes like nectar. His slightest misery an excruciating curse. The beloved unable to leave her body, and a barren lover appear very glorious. That is prema, O Radhe, just as I have heard it in Parvati's assembly. You are the only shelter of that prema, and today I have been blessed to see it for myself. That is my unparalleled good fortune." Radhika smiled, happy that her student had understood her lesson. Slowly, Hari leaned forward, his luscious breath drawing Sri Radha towards him. He raised his right hand in the direction of Lalita and looked sideways at Radha. "But Sakhi, Hari does not possess a scent of the love you proclaim. I arrived at this conclusion by carefully studying his behavior." Returning Radha's gaze, Krishna spoke with a trembling voice. "When I saw you burning in the fire of misery, possessed by the spirit of separation, my heart confirmed as much. Innocent girl, what other proof do I need?" Radhika was speechless by this denunciation of Hari. What would it take to convince the Devi? Why could this goddess not appreciate the true character of her Prananath? Leaning forward even further, his face close to hers, Sri Krishna continued, "And how can I believe your explanation of why he left you in the Rasa Leela? Has anyone ever heard such a statement from his lips or from those of his friends? And even if you had heard this from them, Radhe, how could you cite as evidence the testimony of fellows who have never been known to speak a word of truth in their entire lives?" Sri Radhika saw her disciple eager to dive into her treasure chest of love. This clever celestial desired to hear evidence to support her claim that Sri Krishna is a faithful and pure-hearted lover. Although Devi Rupi's face was but a handbreadth from hers, Gauri leaned forward in defense of her lover and said assertively, "Sakhi, whatever thought appears in my lover's mind appears in mine at the same time. I know exactly what he thinks." Krishna asked, "Radhe, are you so adept in the Achyuta Yoga scriptures that you can enter the mind and body of others?" Sri Radhika replied, "Being a goddess, like your kin, you are always eager to learn Achyuta Yoga. I am but an ordinary human being, so how can I be like you? If you have faith in my words, I will explain how I know the mind of my lover. Otherwise, why should I waste my words?" Krishna said, "O Radhe, if you can convince me logically, presenting solid evidence for your claims, why should I not believe you? I do not doubt your lover to be a nectar ocean of charm, but your assertion that he is loving and affectionate is a subjective perception all your own." Sri Radhika chuckled. "Devi, you must be an adept at paradoxical humor. First you accept me as a seer who can enter the mind of another, then you question my ability to know the mind of my lover." Krishna replied, "Radhe, when Krishna abandoned you in the forest, why were you lamenting so loudly? If you understood his heart, you should have been gladdened by his intentions." Sri Radhika answered, "Devi, you speak the truth. However, you must concede the effect of Sri Krishna's separation, which causes a loss of discrimination and an inability to think clearly. That night I was plunged into a whirlpool of bewilderment. Deprived of my full faculties, I could only lament my loss." Sri Krishna raised his eyebrows in appreciation of Radha's testimony. "Gandharvike, I now accept that you know his mind, but please convince me that he knows yours." Pleased that the Devi could value her most treasured ornaments, Sri Radha decorated her guest with a necklace of love. Saki, you ask whether Sri Krishna knows my mind? Because you control me with your love, I will now unfold this secret before you. The tree beneath which Radha and her friends sat bowed down to better hear her divine discourse. Excited, Sri Krishna said, Radhe, because love has melted your heart, I dare ask such a question. Please forgive my impudence. Since I have a desire to know the mysteries of prema, reveal everything to me without holding anything back. Sri Radhika replied, In the world of men, the saying, they are one, is simply a romantic metaphor. But Hari and I are truly one soul. There is never the slightest possibility of separation between us. For that reason, we know exactly what is in each other's heart and mind. Devi, believe me when I say we are one soul, a soul that is an ocean of variegated rasa, upon whose life force is strung two bodies, mine and his. We are like a beautiful lake, within which, from the same stem, blooms a blue and golden lotus. As a two-wicked lamp destroys the darkness on both sides, although we are one soul, we destroy the darkness of our girlfriends with our two bodies. O Goddess, when the wind of separation seems to extinguish the lamp of our love, our girlfriends expertly protect it, and by arranging our meetings, give it new life. Speaking in a barely audible whisper, Radhika concluded, O gentle one, today I have unlocked the jewel case of my heart, and emptied its contents. Just behold the rare and mysterious gems it contains. Dispel the darkness of your doubts by keeping them always in your heart, and never show them to anyone. Now Shamalata is going to conclude. How wonderful! By opening her heart, the ultimate treasure house of love, Radhika had testified to the glory of prema. Navasaki, we gopis constantly speak of Sri Krishna. Yet there are some things that should not be spoken. What the goddesses in Swarga know nothing about, and what we gopis know, but never say, by deceiving Radha, Hari heard in the courtyard of her home. Oh, what a trickster! He is always in search of newer ways to enjoy festivals of prema. Friends, without delay, let us complete this pastime as I heard it that evening from the poetic and demure Manjari sent by Sri Radha for the fulfillment of my desire. That's the end of this chapter called Radhika's Answers. And stay tuned for the next reading, which is chapter 3, entitled Everything Ends in Bliss. Happy ending to everything. Thank you very much for listening. And Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.